Our first guest tonight is an Academy Award-winning actor and producer you know from films such as Oppenheimer, 28 Days Later, Batman Begins, Inception, and Dunkirk. He returns as Tommy Shelby in the highly anticipated film Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, which is in select theaters now and available on Netflix on March 20th. Let's take a look.
Holy. Everybody stay calm. Anyone thinking of pulling a weapon, do not pull a weapon. Because this man, ladies and gentlemen, is Tommy Shelby.
Who the is Tommy Shelby?
Perhaps someone should explain to him who I am.
I don't give a who you are.
Hey.
You and me, we're gonna dance. Now, put that music back on.
Please welcome back to the show, Cillian Murphy, everybody! It was very nice to end that clip before we saw how Tommy Shelby decided to deal with that gentleman.
Yes,
Yeah.
you'll have to find out. yeah.
Probably the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, knowing Tommy.
Knowing Tommy, yeah.
This is a role, you did 6 seasons of this incredible character
Yeah.
with your creator, Stephen Knight. And I'm wondering, like, do people still yell out Tommy to you? Is that a character they associate with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the one I get yelled at most. It is
Yeah.
the one I get yelled
Yeah.
at most. Yeah.
Do they yell? Is there anything they yell at you more often than anything else?
No fighting.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I'm just going to the shop to buy milk or whatever, and I get a lot of
And
that.
someone will just scream, "No fighting!"
No
at.
fight.
Yeah. For people who don't know your work, it must be very jarring. They're like, this poor man's trying to buy milk. He didn't even look close to fighting anyone.
There's no context. Yeah.
Does anybody ever yell out like, "Hey, Oppenheimer"? Do they ever?
Not so much.
Yeah.
No.
It's weird because like Tommy just seems like a guy you want to yell at, whereas like Oppenheimer, you're like, you know what? He's got a lot on his mind.
It would be a longer conversation.
Right? Yeah. He doesn't seem like a guy you just like high five and let him go about his day. Yeah.
Not a high fiver, no.
Did I know one of the trepidation about a show that ended so well after 6 seasons,
Yeah.
and like to return to it.
Yeah.
It requires the work to be up to the same standard.
Yeah.
How much did you guys think about that? How hard did you work to make sure that it fit in?
An awful lot, to be honest with you. I mean, like, it was 36 hours of telly. I'm really, really proud of what we achieved. I love at the ending of season 6. It was quite ambiguous and quite open-ended. We were going to do season 7, and then COVID happened, so we pivoted to the movie, and we worked an awful lot on developing the story, and like it was really about figuring out what was it that made Peaky tick and what made Tommy tick, and it's family, right? That was the main thematic kind of drive of the show. So therefore, we figured out like it had to be like family had to be the overriding kind of theme in this as well.
One of the things I love so much about the show is each season, like I felt like 2 or 3 like heavy hitter actors would come in and sort of join for a season, and you've pulled that off as well with this film. They're like new people who were not part, and they joined, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, we've had amazing actors over the years. Sam Neill, Adrian Brody, Tom Hart, like incredible actors. And I always think if you write great parts, you get great actors.
Yeah.
So we have Rebecca Ferguson, we have Barry Keoghan, Tim Roth.
It's really good. Barry Keoghan plays your son, and can you explain real quick how you went about asking him if he would play your son?
So, oh gosh, he tells this anecdote way better than I do. So it was Father's Day. We know each other since Dunkirk. So he was like only a kid then, and so he texted me on Father's Day. I had forgotten it was Father's Day, or nobody had let me know it was Father's Day.
Right.
I didn't get any.
Wait, this is a good time to say, like, you actually have children.
Yeah.
It was very much should have been on them to tell you.
You would think. I
Yeah.
mean, and I didn't get any. Anyway, Barry texted me very kindly and very nicely, and he said, hey, Kill, how are you doing? And then I said, I'll just say to him now. So I texted him back and said, how do you want to play my son in Peaky Blinders?
Yeah.
And there was a sort of, when you can see people are typing. And then he said, yeah, he was into it.
That's great. Have you since told your sons that if they had said Happy Father's Day to you, they would have been in Peaky Blinders? You're like, it went to the first person who said something to their dad.
Yeah, I'm easy that way. Yeah.
That's really fantastic. Also, as I'm thinking back to Dunkirk, you were very unkind to Barry's character in Dunkirk.
Okay. That was by accident.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
If you haven't seen the film, it was.
Yeah.
It was. I killed him by accident.
Yeah. I mean, of course, that's exactly what you would say.
Yeah. It was a terrible accident.
It was a terrible accident. A wonderful film, a terrible accident.
Yes. Yeah.
Another, it's interesting because there's certainly parallels to Peaky Blinders. 28 years later, Bone Temple, fantastic film that comes out this year.
Yeah.
And just an incredible moment at the end of the film where we see your character from 28 days later. And, very similar, right? Like, you make this incredible work, and to decide to make more of it, it has to rise to the level of what came before. And, that was a movie I loved so much, and so it was very exciting to see you in it. How did it come about? Like, when they reached out for that, was it a similar thing? Had you texted Happy Father's Day to someone, and then they...
No, that's one of the few films I think that I've revisited over my career, because it was a huge film for me, because it was the first film that really broke through, and, Danny Boyle directed it, and he was a huge director for me growing up. I had his posters on my wall when I was a kid. And then I did text them occasionally saying, is there any chance we'd ever, make another one? Because again, that was left quite open-ended. And then Alex Garland, who was the writer, came up with this setup for the next kind of 28 years later.
Yeah.
And that movie you mentioned was directed by Nia DaCosta.
Yeah.
Danny did the movie beforehand.
Right.
So, I think they're brilliant films. So hopefully you get to make a third.
Yeah, it was very nice. And again, it's... sometimes sequels come out one year after the other, and when there's a nice bit of breathing room between them, I think it makes it very special. So.
28 years, yes. It's quite a long time.
That's about the right amount. I like 28 years between it. I've got a lot more to ask you. We'll stick around. Be right back with more Cillian. Right. We're back with Cillian Murphy. I didn't tell you this last time you were here, but I remember when I saw 28 Days Later, I saw you on screen. I'm like, I feel like I've seen that guy before.
Oh.
And I had been at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival as a young comedian in 1997, and I saw this little play called Disco Pigs.
No way.
And I know later you were, there was a film version of it. But I saw you on stage. You must have been I was very young, and you're younger than me, so you must have been a child.
So 97, I was 21, yeah.
Yeah. And, that was an incredibly formidable time for me on stage at that festival. That show was that your first gig?
That was my first ever professional gig, yeah. And we took it all around. It was myself and Eileen Walsh. She played Runt, and I was Pig. She was Runt. Enda Walsh wrote that play, and it kind of changed everything for me in my whole career. And that we did that in the Traverse Theatre. I don't know if you remember in Edinburgh. And that was like a kind of magical time. The play went on at 11 o'clock at night, so we would do the play from 11 till 12, then go out having the crack all night long, and then sleep all day long.
Yeah.
And then
being part of any show at Edinburgh is really special. I think anyone who's been to the festival knows it. But being part of a show that's working and has a little bit of buzz about it, it's weird. Almost nothing in my career ever since has been like it.
It's insane. It's like the energy in that city at that time, and meeting other artists, meeting other actors, meeting other theater makers and comedians, and it was an amazing time. Yeah,
it was very cool. You had a music background first, right? Before acting, you were in a band with your brother?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah, I wanted to be in a band, and it didn't work out. We played with my brother and these old pals of mine. And
older or younger, your brother?
He's 2 years younger.
Okay, gotcha. So did you talk him into joining a band, or was it both you just wanted to do it?
Well, he became a very, very good keyboard player, so it became extremely useful to me.
Yeah.
So then
That's a key to younger brothers everywhere.
Yeah.
It's learn a skill.
Yeah, learn a skill. And then I put him in the band, and he's an extraordinary musician still to this day. And then we got very serious. We were very serious about it. It didn't quite work out.
You have a radio show on BBC Radio 6.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's Limited Edition.
Yes.
And this is very lo-fi as well. Where do you record your radio show?
Oh, just in the basement of my house.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And this is basically you curate a playlist.
Yeah, I have a. Do you remember in the old days? Some of you might remember this. You would make mixtapes,
Yeah, of course.
and cassettes, and
Yeah.
like just yeah.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, and they were so like they were filled with so much meaning, and everyone would take such care to make the cassettes and write the names out on the back, and name the cassettes, and so it's kind of like it's sort of a digital version of that, and I do a little bit of waffling on in between, but it's just like little mixtapes.
I want to applaud the amount of waffling because one, I find your voice very calming, and I also like your music taste, so it works out really well. I would worry that I would want to over-talk about how much I like each song.
Okay,
I feel
yeah.
like you found a nice balance where like I can tell exactly how much each song means to you, but then you don't overstay your welcome. Is that something you found right away, or?
That's very kind. No, I think I just get a little embarrassed listening to myself. Going,
Yeah.
You sound. What are you talking about? And I also like, when songs move into other songs.
Yes.
So that again, the playlist thing. So one song would speak to another song, and so I adore making those shows.
It gets trickier, I think, as you get older to still discover new music. Do you feel like you're doing a good job at holding on to that?
My kids do.
Yeah.
They're 18 and 20, so they're
That's great.
extremely relevant and extremely keyed in. You know what I mean?
Did you have a lot to do? Did you try to like sort of seed your musical DNA in their tastes when they were young?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like I brainwashed them
Yeah.
in a really good way. Like,
Yeah.
like in driving them to school in the morning, they're stuck there for that length of time.
Yeah.
Just play the Beatles, play Led Zeppelin, play Nina Simone, just over and
And
over.
they wouldn't sort of bully you out because maybe my kids just don't like my music taste, but I could not get them, for example, to listen to Led Zeppelin until there was a song in like Thor. And then they were like, "Oh, we like that song." I'm like, "I've played you that song." And it turns out like I guess they want to hear it via Chris Hemsworth, like not via me.
Yeah, it's hard to resist it then. I think. I just played it really, really loud. I think I just
Yeah.
didn't listen to them.
Well, that's I guess if you turn it up so loud they can't hear it. Yeah, that's a good way of going about it. You also have you interact with your listeners, which is you answer questions, but it's a very nice way to sort of qualify the questions. You want reasonable questions.
I only want reasonable questions. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is this something that from the very beginning did you ask for reasonable questions only? Did you know that if you didn't sort of make that a distinction, you would get dumb questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you have to No, people are extremely respectful, and it's generally about music and about a little bit about kind of books, or very little about acting work, which is lovely relief for just to take a little pause from that and to talk about stuff that you're really passionate about.
Yeah. Do you ever, I think there's also something really vulnerable about putting together, when mixtapes especially, but this is sort of this very public mixtape.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a tendency for people to sort of shame you for your musical tastes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Do you overthink it ever, or are you just like, I'm fully confident with what I like?
Yeah, I overthink it. Like everything, I overthink everything probably. Yeah. But I think that music, I think it's impossible to be a music snob, right, if you listen to everything.
Yeah.
I think the snobs are the people that just listen to one type of music or one record. If you listen to every genre and you're open to everything, then then you can only be curious. Curiosity is the thing you need for music.
I also still like when a human being sort of curates a playlist, because I think one of the problems of like the algorithm and like AI, right, is they'll listen to like what I'm listening to, and they'll be like, you should like this, this, and this, and it's always exactly the same as what I'm listening to. So I highly recommend it, and I just want to. I think you're very good musical taste, and I like listening to you talk about your
That's very kind
songs.
of you.
And it's great to see you again. Thank you so much
You
for being
too,
here.
Seth.
Congrats on the film.
It's a pleasure.
Cillian Murphy, everyone. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man is in theaters now. Will be available on Netflix on March 20th. Stick around. Be right back with Mally J. Hall.